I'd like to call this March 16th, 2021 meeting back in order. Since we had a council person that was late, I just want to read this out to make sure it is in our minutes for this show, or not for this show, for this meeting. Maybe it is a show. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regards to any items on the agenda? If so, please state at this time. Mr. Borman?
No.
Mr. Phillips?
No, sir.
Mr. Corbett?
No.
Mr. Nern?
No.
No.
Mrs.? Thank you, Ms. Jen. All right, moving on. We're now in section 4, council discussion. Does anyone have anything?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Councilwoman.
In the most recent Beacon, there was a letter to the editor that misrepresented a vote that I took at the January 4th meeting. It was the adoption of the resolution directing that the dredging project be undertaken. It was not clear when you read the resolution. It was not clear in that resolution that meant going ahead and pursuing with the bidding process. But it was clear that it reduced the tax rate from 8% to 3%. However, even not realizing that this was setting the bidding process in motion, I voted no against that resolution, and it was reported in the Beacon that I voted for it. I did not, and I would like the public to know that. I would like to be on the record that I did not, and it is in the minutes that I voted no.
Okay.
So I just would like to make that clear to everyone, that it certainly was not understood by me that we were setting the bidding process in motion. But had I known that, I would have still voted no.
Mr. Phillips, do you have anything? Mr. Borman, do you have anything?
Nothing for me.
Mr. Nern, do you have anything?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
I wrote that letter to the Beacon, and I was mistaken about how Ms. Harris voted.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Corbett?
I've got one thing.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say thank you to the Sunset Beach nonprofit, Sunset Vision, for their service to Sunset Beach. Last Friday, the Sunset Vision members did a beach access cleanup, getting ready for Easter. Also, Sunset Vision volunteers, Ashley Bookwell and Pete Larkin, installed 46 cigarette butt canisters to collect cigarette butts on all of the beach accesses, the gazebo, the 3 town park entrances. There's no smoking in the town park, so the entrances is a good spot. On the boat ramp, on the fishing dock, on the bird watch, and at the old bridge. These canisters were donated by the Keep Brunswick County Clean organization, and it's all in an effort to collect the cigarette butts, and they will be recycled and sent back to a factory that'll put the butts to good use. So thank you, Sunset Vision, for your continued service to Sunset Beach.
Anyone else? All right. We'll move on to our public comments. Check to see if there's anybody back there for the first section.
You have a comment now, Rich? Okay, so at the end of the meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. He's got an end of the meeting comment.
Okay, that's only one back there, okay? Moving on to our old business, Section A, fire truck financing. Our finance director, Ms. Tara Drop, you have the floor.
Okay, so we have our, I'm presenting you with 3 options for the purchase of the fire truck. We had already approved for the fire truck purchase. We did an RFP and sealed bid opening for the financing amounts. the lowest that came in was at 1.58%. With the overall total interest for the life of that contract would be approximately $48,000. It's like $48,647. So I just wanted to, all three of these are perfectly fine options. I know that before we completely made it official, we wanted to know exactly how much our cost would be for the financing. So the three options are that we could outright buy the fire truck from our fund balance, because fund balance is for capital purchases. We could purchase the fire truck with our fund balance and have the fire department pay back the general fund with a yearly amount. Because they have their own fund balance, and we've kind of separated their budget out a little bit, so we could absolutely be able to do that. And then the third option is use the installment financing to purchase the fire truck. The financing is a 10-year period, and it's $31,043 payments twice a year, so it's around $62,000 a year. So depending on what option council decides they want to go with will depend on our next step. Are there any questions? Or
You mentioned about our fund balance, or what kind of status are we in it right now?
so with our fund balance, we have a budget amendment coming up in this same, I think it's the next item. So after that, we'll have appropriated $551,000 out of our fund balance for this current year. We did put fund balance back in at the end of the last fiscal year. If we use all expenses in every single department, which never happens, and with the projected revenues I have, we would take out approximately $200,000 from our fund balance at the end of this fiscal year, with not doing the fire truck, but like prior to that. But that's only if every department spent their entire budget. Does that make sense?
What about that second option where we buy it right? The first one was, what you just said was outright, correct?
Yes.
All right, how about the second one where we buy it? And then what would we be looking from the fire part?
So, I mean, the
coming
fire
back?
department, we could put in a line in the fire department where each year, the money that we would give to the bank from the fire department, they could put back in the fund balance each year. So it's basically moving it from their fund balance to our fund balance of what they have every year. So it's still an appropriation out of the fire department. It's just you're cutting out the interest.
Go ahead, sir.
If we do the installment plan, would not the annual $62,000 then be included in the fire department's annual budget
Yes.
and be paid for by fire fees?
Yes.
So
So that's what I was saying. The fire fees, if you decided to pay it out of general fund, the fire fees would just basically be paying back.
okay, but the other option is if we do the installment plan
Then it just comes out of fire fees.
and it comes out of fire fees, and it still leaves us basically the full general fund that we have without reducing our general fund by $572,000.
Correct. Yeah, it wouldn't touch general fund balance at all.
If we did the installment,
Right,
and the fire fees would pay for that.
right.
So there would not be an impact on our tax rate, if you will.
Yes, no.
Okay.
So-
And 1.58%, in my mind, is very low. It's not quite the 0 for 60 months that some auto dealers are offering, but we're doing a different thing.
The next bid that we got in was 2.15%. So, and it was like 99,000 over 10 years.
So then the question is, for the 48,647 in interest that we would have paid over 10 years, could we gain that much interest if we don't take it out of our fund balance, would we get that kind of interest back if we put that money in the bank?
So where we have it in the bank, basically, where we have it invested, Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Right now, no.
Yeah.
okay,
I mean, the federal interest rates
is low.
are
No,
so
nobody's-
low right now.
Nobody's paying that high. But we still would have the 572,000
Right,
in our fund available to us if we needed it for
Correct.
anything to affect our operating. And that, again, that 48,000 in interest would be part of the annual payments that would be part of the fire fee budget that we would have. So it would have no negative impact on our taxpayers.
so to use option 3, we would keep the money, we would pay installments over 10 years, and it would cost us $48,000 more than if we took it out of the fund balance.
Yeah. Which would be recovered in the fire fees,
Yeah.
in the fire fee budget.
So with that analysis, I think the option 3 makes the most sense.
Yeah.
For that low an interest rate,
Is
pretty attractive.
is there any option to pay a portion of it, out of the general fund and then have the fire fees pay the remaining portion of it? Just understanding this is a large piece of equipment. And
Right.
my personal belief is try to pay for things that you have the money for,
Right.
versus stretching out a loan for a car over 10 years just
Yeah,
because
so
you can get it.
we paid $275,000 on this truck already.
Okay.
That was the down payment that we had done out of the sale of the other equipment that they had. I don't remember what it was exactly, but there was another fire truck
Mhm.
that we had sold and used that as a $275,000 down payment on it. At this point, if we changed the dollar amount and we put another $200,000 down on it, we would probably have to go back out for bids and redo the contract with the bank and all of that. I know that we're supposed to have, it's final on April 14th. So the final inspection for the fire truck is on April 14th, so we're coming down to the end of it. It's definitely a possibility.
Mhm.
It would just take a little bit of time.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I agree with number 3, let fire fees pay for it, leave the money in the bank.
I'd like to make a motion, or do you have a comment?
Good, okay, go
I'd
ahead.
like to make a motion that we purchase the fire truck using the installment financing at 1.58%.
Do I have a second?
There's a motion for the resolution at the very bottom.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the resolution of the town council of the town of Sunset Beach, North Carolina, approving an installment financing contract / security agreement and delivery thereof, and providing for certain other related matters.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Terry. Moving on to our next part. Be a budget amendment for the police department, fire department, and parking lot. Go ahead, Mr. Rock.
Getting through all of my first part stuff. Okay. So I will start with the additional designing and engineering. So that's for the lot next door that we are going to be using for a parking lot. That lot had to be adjoined with town hall lot so that we could have it as a parking lot. And so that ended up having additional costs and also adding the rain gardens into that whole plan. So that total increase was $14,490. The second part of that is the parking enforcement program that council approved at prior council meeting. This is basically having all of the costs put together for this current fiscal year. That would need to come from fund balance. And then the fire department had applied for, and council approved a matching grant for that. Our match was only $167. This is basically just showing the grant that we have this money allocated. So the total amount from fund balance for this budget amendment, with all of those included, is $172,894.48. And then we had an increase in the grant line from $2,919.05. Are there any questions on this?
Yeah, I have a question, Tara.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
The parking enforcement, would that come out of the
Occupancy tax?
occupancy tax? Yes,
Um,
rather than the fund.
Actually, yeah, part of it could. I can take that back. It would only be a portion. The whole thing can't, because they're not only going to be only out over
Right,
there.
but at least for the months that they're going to be doing.
I'm not sure, so I'll have to, I guess, configure exactly how much time they'll be over there and how much would be over here.
Probably a quarter,
So-
the 4 months, right, Chief?
Well, I'm saying for the total purchase, I'll have to figure out, I'll get with our police chief and figure out exactly what the percentage is going to be.
It
'Cause
would
they're
have
gonna
to be based on a
certified, They're
percentage.
going to be law enforcement officers. They're not just going to be parking attendants.
No, I understand, yeah, but at least for the period of time that they're going to
Yeah.
be,
Well, even going forward in the budget, I'll have to know that anyways, so.
okay.
But that includes also the vehicle. I mean,
Right.
we're
Which
dedicated.
part of that
The
could be
two, the two
too.
police officers in that are dedicated to the season,
Right.
according to our agreement, basically, that we would have them
Yeah,
out
so I'll
there.
have to do a percentage on that.
So can we,
I can just bring out the whole thing back. It won't affect anything. I can just bring the whole thing back in at the next meeting. It will still be okay if I don't do it at this meeting and just do it
Okay.
at the next meeting.
That's not going to affect, we're in the hiring process, correct?
It's fine. I mean,
Or-
council's already approved it. There's money there. We're not over budget at this point. This is to make sure that we don't go over budget, like moving forward. There's, because we still have salaries, we still have things through the end of the fiscal year that are still there. So we haven't overspent any of our expenditures at this point.
Okay.
But I can do it at the next
So
meeting.
we'll just carry this one on then.
And it's actually only going to be a couple of months because they're not even hired yet.
Yeah, I had figured it on, I think, 4 months, just to have enough. And then whatever's not used, but it went back into fund balance.
Okay. So we'll just move this on at the end. We'll put this on the directive for the next meeting,
Do you want to
Yeah.
do it
correct?
that way then? Just put it back into the fund balance from the occupancy tax?
So if it's not spent this year, so accommodation tax doesn't have a fund balance.
Sorry.
Whatever is left over in
Yeah.
accommodation tax comes back into our fund balance. Like, not into our fund balance, but gets transferred into general fund.
Okay.
So,
Doesn't really make a
mean,
difference is what you're saying.
yeah. So, I mean, this, even if we did it this way,
If it doesn't make a
It's still-
difference, then,
it's going to have an effect on general fund, whether you take it out of there or out of here. So,
okay.
it'll have the same effect.
so with that, we might as well approve it today
You can,
Yeah.
because
and get it over with.
we can take it out of general fund, and then for the next budget, we can do it that way, because all it will do is change the amount that's transferred.
Yep.
With
So,
that being said, do I have a motion?
Yes.
Motion is for to approve the budget amendment for the purchase of additional engineering costs, police department parking enforcement program, and recognize the funds from the fire department COVID-19 grant. I have a
Second.
motion. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Thank you, Terry. Next up will be our parking ordinance violation fee change. Chief Claymore, Police Chief, you have the floor.
Good morning. We briefly spoke about this when we were in the initial stages of the parking program, considering which route we wanted to go. And when everything was solidified at the last meeting, neglected to bring it up, that there was a proposal early on to change the fees related to the parking violations. What I'm proposing is we initially have now that a fine that is paid within 72 hours is $25. there's no set increase in the fee schedule, posing that if it's after 72 hours, but prior to 7 days, it's increased to 50. After 7 days would be a $100 fine. We are also in the process of researching a way to institute a collection process for those that do not pay. Some of that was built into the other programs that we pitched, but since we're keeping it in-house, we're now trying to find a way to do the collections, and that will be brought before council before anything else is done. But today, what I'm asking is just the fee increases as you see there before you.
Do I have any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
This seems like some big jumps, but our parking's not going to get any better over there. Hopefully this will make people pay attention. And I don't have any problem with it.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to clarify, kind of for the record, what kind of violations we're talking about. These include parking on the sidewalks.
Everything is listed in chapter 72. So yes, parking on
Okay,
the sidewalk,
but it's
blocking the
not
driveway.
listed, it's not listed in our YouTube record of the town meeting that people will look at.
Sure,
So 1 is sidewalks, 2 is bike lanes,
correct,
3 is parking on the wrong side of the road
correct.
facing against traffic, and
That's
that's
a parallel. That's under parallel parking.
under
yes, sir.
parallel parking. That's Main Street as well as Canal, North Shore.
Correct.
Okay, and the parallel parking includes double parking. You can't park
Yes, sir.
2 vehicles together. And that covers cars, trucks, golf carts, ATVs,
Correct.
all motorized vehicles.
That's correct. Any vehicle that's registered in the state of North Carolina
And blocking driveways.
and blocking driveways.
Blocking drive, and south, vehicles registered anywhere else.
Right, not just North Carolina. Yeah, let's get that on the record too. Any
Okay.
registered motor vehicle.
Okay. And the ordinance violation, these fees are applied and tied in with conjunction of the 2 additional police officers, police vehicles, and patrolling for parking concerns throughout the year.
That's correct. My hope is that this incentivizes folks to pay sooner than later.
My hope is that it incentivizes people to
That too.
park legally,
Yeah.
whether they live here or are visiting.
If by instituting this program we never write another parking ticket, then we've done our job.
That would be good. Money well spent.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
I think
Yes.
it should,
Does this also include parking on the side streets? But you're not allowed to park on the
Yes,
side
ma'am.
streets.
Yes, ma'am.
So there is a fine for parking on the,
Absolutely, yes.
All the regular ordinances that are already in effect will be under this, correct?
That's correct.
All right, anybody else? Do I have a motion that we accept these fee changes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
If I may.
Go ahead, sir.
While I have your attention. I just wanted to address one thing that I know that there's been questions on, at least directed to me, and I've heard that perhaps there may have been questions throughout town with regard to crime volume increase as a result of Arteza Village. It was directly posed, the question to me, that a resident had heard that the crime rate in Sunset Beach had increased 3 times the amount that it has been since those units began to be rented. Coincidentally, when that question was raised to me, just a day prior, I had a public records request for incidents that we've handled at Arteza Village since they rented the first unit in November of 2020. From that date to the end of last week, there were 6 incidents that we responded to. There's no direct correlation to any crime throughout the town of Sunset Beach that relates back to any renting or any folks that have moved in to Arteza Village. If there's any questions from council, be more than happy to answer those or share those documents with you.
Anyone have anything?
I do. Various Facebook's things were reporting that there were a number of break-ins on the island over the last several weeks, cars, storage sheds.
We've had some incidents where persons have left their vehicles unlocked and found various items removed, such as loose change, but again, no correlation to anything that's going on at Arteza.
But there's still a problem with people leaving their vehicles open and subject to
That's a problem every
five-finger
year.
discounts.
It's a problem every year,
Yeah,
right? An ounce of
okay.
prevention. Motion lights, locking the vehicles, locking your doors, locking your storage
Yeah.
sheds.
Yeah.
Criminals, no matter where they're from, like to choose the path of least resistance. And if your house is well lit and your doors are locked, I'm probably going to go to your neighbors.
But the main thing is no link to Artesia Village.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, our update, planning board meeting once a month. Chad? You got the floor.
So Monday, December 7th, my first council meeting, y'all asked me to come back. Y'all approved and amended the meeting agenda to allow planning board to meet once a month for 3 months, with the contingency of coming back 3 months later to this date, asking to update y'all on how that's gone. And then at me again asking for this to continue meeting once a month. Since December 7th, planning board and staff have facilitated approvals for 3 major site plans, 2 final plats, 3 zoning text amendments, and we are now transitioning and having the discussion of laying the groundwork to rezone the golf course fairways. And that's going to be a daunting task. I've had one person on the record think that that is a planning board member, think this is a good idea. I mean, we've had our January planning board meeting went 4 hours with no break, and we tabled an hour and a half's worth of work. So these have not been light planning board meetings. They take time to think them out, have decisions, put the agenda packets together. And I am again asking council to allow us to continue for this foreseeable future to continue to meet once a month.
Anybody have any discussion? Go ahead, John.
You said one planning board member spoke up saying they liked the idea of once a month.
Yeah, that's the only one I know that
Well,
has shared his opinion to me.
so the other planning board members have not indicated whether they're satisfied or not satisfied with this?
Correct.
And it wasn't discussed at the March 4th meeting?
I brought it up briefly, but it was not discussed.
So does the planning board like this or not? What do you think?
I can't really speak on behalf of the planning board on how they really feel about it. Speculating at best is that these are some very packed meetings that are very thought out, take time to put the agenda packets together and accept submittals, and for them to review them, and have been very at times intense on making decisions on what's best for this town. When it comes to efficiency, I think we're moving it to 1 meeting a month. I think would be a great way to use our time efficiently, but also, with talks with Lisa, moving it to 2 planning board meetings a month is not going to streamline decisions made any quicker to council as far as text amendments, rezonings, or anything of that nature.
And all the information that goes into the planning board meetings, the members are presented with that up front to actually be reading through it, where you don't have to get in there and read page by page, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they're very detailed staff reports and staff recommendations, if there are any.
And what we have
Go ahead, Lee.
experienced is that instead of an item being tabled numerous times because they were meeting every 2 weeks, the once a month meeting has given them the time to do their research and their homework and come to the meeting and have a educated discussion that has resulted in action every meeting. With them meeting every 2 weeks, they don't have the time to do their homework and we don't have the time to do ours.
So would it be fair to say that the one meeting a month is meeting the needs of the town, requirements of the town,
Yes.
and we're not losing anything significant by not having two meetings?
No, I think we've gained in what I've kind of brought to y'all and what will be coming for to y'all over the next few months. And I know that I'm getting ahead a little bit with part of my budget presentation, but when we go forth with the potential of an audit and a UDO rewrite or Band-Aid or fix, there's going to have to be room where multiple planning board meetings could have to come into effect, because that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of thought out process as well. Now we're talking starting that probably a little less than a year from now, but that's coming down the pipeline as well. So these are huge work sessions that I am presenting to the planning board on a month-to-month basis. I mean, this is the working through this, and I think I can safely say, at least in the past few years, this has been one of the busiest times planning-wise I've seen in Sunset Beach. This would be, if depending on how things go Friday, this would be the first time I've not had any submittals from an applicant to go for to planning board since I've started.
Anyone else got any questions?
I have a motion.
Go ahead, sir.
I move that we approve and revise the meeting schedule to reduce the number of monthly planning board meetings to once a month on the first Thursday of every month.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up will be our new business, our Arbor Day 2021 proclamation. The Environmental Resource Committee is proposing an Arbor Day proclamation in continuous commitment to our Tree City USA program. Everyone's looked over, know what that was that we implicated last year. Does anyone have any questions?
Are we
Go ahead, sir.
gonna plant a tree this year?
I would think so, correct, Mrs. Lisa? Don't we have plans to plant one?
We're going to plant trees in the parking lot.
Okay.
We're gonna plant trees in the parking lot.
We'll
Get
have
some new
to.
trees when they
Yeah,
get cleared
but
up.
on Arbor Day, we're gonna plant a tree. Like last year, we planted a tree out.
I don't think they are planning. Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so no ceremony.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
Or-
instead of doing the ceremony this year, we not on Arbor Day specifically, but there are potentially or currently plans for 2 rain gardens to be installed, and we're currently working through budget, and along with the parking lot plan over here to the right or left on the other side of the police department, along with conjunction with the one here that Mr. Michaud and Stormwater Department has in conjunction with the ERC to work with that one as well. So they want to do a proclamation to recognize Arbor Day, but also use those rain gardens as a time where we can have with COVID still being persistent and here using those as celebrations as a kind of an internal thing.
thank you.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion that we adopt this Arbor Day 2021 proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on is our disposition of directives. And of course, the first one, I guess, you will be bringing that back, Tara, the information that they asked for about the fire thing. Even though we went ahead and voted, you'll still give an update on that at the next meeting, or how you feel about that?
No.
We've
Since
already
it's
voted.
already passed, let's go ahead with it. You don't have to, okay. All right, does anybody have anything else for the disposition of directives? Go ahead, John.
I'd like to add a resolution on the Carolina Bays Parkway routing. We did it about a year ago. It's still an active issue. I'd like to present a resolution at our April meeting supporting moving the parkway or the parkway be on the other side of US 17 and not impact US 17 area. So I'll write that up and bring that back.
Anyone else? Nothing else then? We'll go next to our department heads' budget presentations.
Mayor, if I may,
Go ahead.
if it please the council, you could move public comments up before this next time slot, unless what he wants to address is dealing with budget.
You want to check with him, see if he wants to speak now, or either we can wait till then, unless there's some more back there.
Is your comment concerning the budget, or do you want to speak now? Yeah, then, he'd like to speak now?
Okay.
Not related to the budget?
Perfectly fine.
Okay. From in there? Okay, up against the mic over there, Rich, yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. President Truman often stated that public records do not lie, but politicians do. I sent a letter to all of you dated March 11th, responding to Councilman Nern's recent Beacon letter
Please,
titled
please,
More
sir, can I
More
interrupt you, sir?
Misinformation
Can I interrupt you for just a
and more
second?
lies.
Can I interrupt you for just a second, sir?
The mayor's interrupting.
I can't hear.
He
I'll
can't
talk
hear
to
you,
you.
so go ahead.
I'll talk to you right here.
Okay.
Sir, when you talk, will you please just say a council person and not name a person out, please?
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
More misinformation and lies. I am sure that all of you have read his Beacon letter and my response to him. This is the same councilman that once publicly humiliated the Brunswick Beacon staff writer for publishing public records that he classified as fake news. As a councilman at that time, I intervened and questioned his claims. He, however, never responded and sat in silence. Unfortunately, this time the Beacon did publish fake news. News that was created by a councilman for publishing in untruthful and slanderous statements that were contrary to public records. Since then, I have received an apology from the Beacon, which I accepted, recognizing that this was not their fault. As a private citizen, I am requesting a public apology from this councilman. And Mr. Mayor, I am not a spokesperson for Councilwoman Harris or the Beacon and their many readers. However, I do believe that this apology should also be extended to them. Thank you.
Well, in behalf of the town, which I do represent as the mayor, I will apologize to you, but this issue has already been dealt with through this meeting. So I see no use to have anything further, but I will personally apologize to you for that statement that was made. I think it was made out of context, but every day I think that people make mistakes, and together we can work through these things. I hope that things change. I hope that comments next time are maybe thought out a little bit more. But other than just being a mistake, I don't think it's something that we should dwell on as we go forward. But thank you, sir, for addressing it, and I appreciate it, and there you go. Does anyone else have anything? All right, that ends the public comments. Now we'll go back to new business, department head budgets presentations. Tara, I guess you'll take all this and
Yes.
run with it. Thank you.
So as the next part of our budget process, the department heads are going to present to you all of the different things that they've noticed that they need in their department, or either capital or additional staff. Today is not a day for council to make any decisions whatsoever. I'm currently working on revenue projections, where we're standing now, like the projections through the end of this year and what it looks like we'll have the following year for this budget. The league has not posted any of the projections that they have yet, which, you know, are local shared revenues. So this is really just to start dialogue between council and department heads. If you have any questions on any of the proposals that you've seen in here, so that they can come back and just really to open up the discussion. On April 8th is when I'm hoping that we'll be able to go through the budget with a more detail, line by line. And I'm hoping that prior to that, it'll be 2 weeks that you will have, again, a packet. That will depend on the league's timeliness as when I get the other projections as to how accurate it will be. Does anyone have any questions about the process?
Go ahead, John.
I have sort of a request in the process that from everybody, I'd kind of like to hear that the departments identify what items that are on what items were postponed and not purchased from the last year budget when we stopped purchases due to COVID, and that are now on the budget when they make their presentations, so that we can kind of know where we're picking up the pieces. And if in the course of this past year there were items or personnel that were requested last year that were postponed but did get ordered, let us know what they are. So we almost need a 2-year picture of what has happened. And in line with that, both the police and the fire department have, I'll call it a capital improvement plan that stretches out, identifies their major pieces of equipment and projects out where their replacement lines are, which are important planning documents. I would like to see perhaps a consolidated major equipment listing and projection for the rest of our major equipment from the other departments, DPW's stormwater, admin, planning and inspection, so that we have a picture of all of the vehicles, all of the equipment, and the projected planning lines. I know that's not there right now. I think as we move forward, we should put that together for our budget process. That's all I have right now.
Anyone else? All right, proceed. Tara?
So for administration and finance, we don't have any departmental requests. We've just been looking into some of the things that council had discussed at the last meeting, but at this time, we don't have any requests for our department specifically.
Tara, car. The
Oh.
car that is the last page of your packet. It actually is a car that is used by multiple departments. It's the 2011 Ford Escape. We're asking to replace that vehicle. This vehicle in the past was used for training, off-site visits for administration or planning or finance, or basically any of the staff that doesn't have a department car or access to a department car will use this vehicle. We'll still be able to use this car around town, but it's not a travel away from town car anymore.
This is the one we talked about maybe using for the trash can roll up, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is the vehicle that sits out here in front of the town hall.
It is.
The transmission is having some issues, so it's not something that we would want to take to a class whenever we're able to start doing classes again. The repairs would be around $5,000, and the Kelly Blue Book on it is right around $5,000.
So that's the only thing that administration is asking for, you could say. But it houses all those other departments as well.
No, we're not expected to say we like this or we don't
No.
like this at this time.
Just if you have questions.
Yeah. Okay.
So the police department,
Police Department up first. Chief Ken, Mark. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I know you've had an opportunity to review this. It was sent out a little while back. And my introduction there, I'm not going to read that word for word, but one of the things that I want to focus on this year is retention of the employees that we have. And I'm aware that council has seen a sort of a pay study that was put together by the finance officer. And when I first met with the finance officer and the assistant town administrator to discuss any capital items that I wanted for this upcoming fiscal year, I didn't bring anything. And I had put together, not knowing that they had already done it, I had put together my own salary recommendations in an effort to help retain employees. Once I had learned that that was already put together by the finance director, I went back and looked at some things that that weren't approved in the last year's budget. And those are here before you today. But with that said, most importantly to me is taking care of the people that I have, retaining them. I don't want to continue down a cycle of training folks for other agencies and they leave us for greater pay at a jurisdiction nearby. I would be willing to forego the majority of what's here in front of you to support that pay study that was put together by the finance director.
Chief, excuse me. Do we have these numbers that you're going to present in writing here somewhere?
No, what I put together for salaries was within dollars of what the finance director had put together on hers. So you don't have mine in front of you because ours were very similar in nature. And I fully support the one that the finance director put together.
Is that in
I haven't
here?
given that to you yet.
We don't have it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't
I don't
given it
think
to
so.
him. We just discussed it.
Okay.
When, in the last meeting that we had for budget, I had mentioned that the Ocean Isle had done the MAPS group study. It was very recent. So we're bringing everything, doing the whole study and bringing it to Sunset Beach and trying to come up with a new salary schedule. But I haven't actually given you the numbers for that yet. So.
Well, I don't see any point discussing this until we see the numbers. Personally, I'm in favor of this, changing the salary structure, but I want to see the numbers.
When do we expect to see that?
So we tried to not do salary, things like that up front. And with this part of it, just on the per department, like capital, additional employees, not so much necessarily salary. When we had taught one of the main things for the police department was the important, I think what he's trying to tell you is the importance of the salary thing, not necessarily the specific numbers. Like I said, today it's not to make any decisions. We're not throwing anything off the table or anything like that. But I mean, I'm very close to having this completed with what the specific numbers are for each department. And so that would be part of that next packet that you'll get for the next budget meeting, which is April 8th. So I would I'm hoping that I'll have the projections in the next week and a half so that you'll have it 2 weeks ahead of time, that you can go through it with a fine tooth comb. It may not be exactly 2 weeks, but we'll have it for you for that.
For the April 8th discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
When Ken brought this to the attention of Tara and I, and we started looking at, he was focused in, of course, on the police department and just those numbers. But when Tara and I started reviewing the study, it became very apparent to us that it needed to be a town-wide structure address. So that's why we made it a lot broader than just the police department.
Yeah.
So that's why it's taken us a little longer to get all that pulled together. But you will have it the 1st of April.
Yeah. Well, that's timely. The council has actually asked for that or discussed that for the last 2 budget cycles before this one. So it's
Correct.
time to look at the salary structure. Thank you.
I apologize. I thought you had seen that. I discussed this with the finance director prior to stepping up here, and I misunderstood. I apologize. The first item that you'll see there in the packet was introduced last year prior to the pandemic. It's to replace a 2014 Dodge Durango. The Dodge Durango that we have was on the replacement schedule for the last fiscal year. It's 7 years old with 136,000 miles. Has a Kelley Blue Book of approximately $8,500. The vehicle still runs, although it's getting up there in mileage. My intention would be to keep it for a spare, so when officers go to trainings, they can utilize that vehicle, or as a backup when another vehicle is down for service. My recommendation is to replace it with a Chevy Tahoe. Equipped, as you see there in front of you, is $47,700. Are there any questions on the replacement of the 2014 Durango?
Sort of just related, last year you also wanted to, we're replacing the Dodge Durango. Last year you also had a request for a 2014 Ford Utility Interceptor. Did we already replace that during the course of the year?
Yes, sir. When some capital items were given back, once we knew what our revenues were going to be, we replaced that in 2020.
Okay, thank you. I have trouble keeping track of all those.
That's okay. Any other questions?
Anybody got anything?
Nope.
Continue.
Thank you.
Next item was also on the budget from last year, which was policy implementation service with a company by the name of Lexipol. If you recall, I believe all the council members were present for this conversation, but Lexipol is a company that can provide us with policy implementation, policy updates, training for the officers on updated policies, current policies, and they will take our policies that we currently have in use, review those, make any changes that may need to be made so they are specific to Sunset Beach, specific to the state of North Carolina, and implement those in a digital format. Officers will receive emails on occasion from Lexipol to be quizzed on the policy to ensure that they understand the policy. And those things will be documented that officers have been trained, and it keeps us fresh, keeps us current with any trends that might change. For example, there was recent legislation that required agencies to implement a duty to intervene. There was also legislation that prohibits the use of chokeholds, for example. Those are things that we did do, but those were done in-house. And had we not been aware of those changes, we would be behind the curve on that. Lexipol would ensure that we are up to date with it. Annual subscription fees for this, as you see on the first page there, are just over $10,000, which would be annual. Additionally, annual, there would be a subscription fee for Police One Academy Portal, which hosts training for officers, which would bring the total annual cost to just over $11,000 at $11,391.70. On the next page, you see one-time fees. $225 fee for the Police One Academy account service and setup, and for full implementation of the policy manual, which means going through our existing policies, making sure they're up to speed, making sure they're consistent with best practices, for a total of $21,669.05. First year total fee is $33,315.75. There's a list of agencies locally that are currently using Lexipol, and there are over 4,000 agencies across the United States that use it for a policy solution. Is there any questions regarding
Any discussion here?
policy service with
Questions?
Lexipol?
Just a question, Chief, about the first year. So when you buy the full implementation, you have to pay the subscription fee as well?
We do. We have the option of, this can be piecemealed. We have the option of them not reviewing our existing policies, which I feel that's necessary to ensure that we have policies that are in line with what we do here in Sunset Beach. It wouldn't be right to take policies out of Raleigh and say that these policies are going to be an apple for apple comparison to what we do in Sunset Beach.
So it's an audit more or less of
Yes, sir.
the existing?
Yes, sir.
Question, does this policy thing have an interface with these other entities? Or is it just, I mean, you list some, you don't list the county, you don't list our neighbor OIB. I think Calabash and Carolina Shores don't have a police department, so it doesn't. Does this interface for consistency, or does it have any function with interoperability? Or is that just not related to what Lexipol does?
It doesn't have, to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't have any cross-agency other than what would be specified in the general statute for mutual aid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Not a question, but I think it's important that we stay very up to date. Our population is growing, and in this litigious society, if our department is up to date, I think it goes away in a lawsuit to say we have had this training. I still want to see the whole budget picture.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Nope.
All right, go ahead, sir.
The next section is recommending a promotion of 2 existing officers to the rank of sergeant. This was also included in the budget presentation last year, along with the addition of 2 patrol officers. Note that the 2 patrol officers were just recently approved as a part of the parking enforcement program. So I'm not asking for 2 more officers with what you see here in front of you in number 3. This is simply a promotion of 2 existing officers. The way our structure currently works is we have 2 groups that work a rotating schedule. One week they'll work a certain number of days. The next week they'll work a different number of days so that we have coverage 24/7. We currently have 2 supervisors at the rank of sergeant that work an overlapping shift from noon to midnight. So at any given time, there are periods where a supervisor is not present. Of course, they're available by phone call. They're available to respond if needed. But to have a sergeant, a supervisor directly supervising and responding to calls with them, I feel is imperative. By promoting 2 personnel, existing personnel, and changing the times that the sergeants would be working, we would have coverage 24 hours a day, supervisors on every rotation. So from 6A to 6P, 6P to 6A, 7 days a week. That pay scale is currently set, as you see there in front of you, from just over $46,000 to just over $69,000. I estimate that the increase to the salary line would be no more than 10% per officer. So we would take what their existing wages are, and what's the most we could bump to the starting? It's 5%? Okay. So those numbers of 46 to 69 is not an increase in the budget. Understand that the officers are already somewhere in that range, somewhere close to that range. So it'd be an increase in pay just due to the promotion. Are there any questions for that?
I just want to make sure you're going to promote existing personnel.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 2 patrol officers that would meet the criteria to be promoted. this would be in-house, yes, sir. Not new employees. I want to stress that. It's not new personnel.
Could you review your positions now? You got chief, assistant chief, 2 detectives, and the enforcement officer.
Correct.
And then this will give us how many sergeants and how many other patrol officers?
What we are doing, along with the parking enforcement program, council had approved the promotion of a captain. I'm going to eliminate one of the detective positions as a result of that promotion, which has not happened yet. Of course, we'll still have the code enforcement and animal control officer. With the promotion of, if this is approved by council, we would have 4 sergeants, 1 for every shift. And then our patrol officers would fall in under that.
So you have 8 patrol officers to be able to do that? 1 and 2 per shift?
There would be 8.
Okay. Do we have all those people now?
We're in the process now to hire the 2 folks that were approved for the parking enforcement program.
And just a reminder, please update your roster on the town's website under the department. Appreciate that for all the departments.
That's on me.
Yeah,
That's on you.
Yeah, that's on me.
Okay. Noted. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
That brings up another question. Are we going to be able to make do with just 1 detective?
I believe so. And the promotion to the captain position can support that position as well. That person, whoever that may be, can serve in that capacity if need be. Any other questions regarding that proposal?
Go forward.
The last thing I'm proposing is a fitness incentive. This is new. This was not brought before you previously. The purpose of this is to promote health among our members, hopefully to reduce the instances of workplace injuries, and to better serve the public that we are sworn to protect. My suggestion is to do this on an annual basis by selecting a testing date for participating employees. This would be a voluntary program. It wouldn't be something that is mandatory as a condition of employment. Testing would be based upon the Cooper standards for push-ups, sit-ups, and a 1.5-mile run in the 50th percentile. If you're not familiar with those standards, they're tiered based on sex and age. I'm proposing that this is available to both full-time and part-time sworn members of the department. Employees would have to participate in annual testing in order to qualify for the incentive. All 3 events must be attempted in order to qualify for the incentive. Employees need not successfully complete all 3 to receive an incentive. So for example, if I can only do the push-ups, but I try the sit-ups and I try the run, I would receive the incentive that year for 1, so long that I attempted all 3. In the following year, after the first year that we implement the program, employees would need to show improvement or continue to meet the standard in order to receive the incentive. So the example I just used where I can only do the push-ups, but I fall short, say by 5 sit-ups, and I fall short on my run by, say, 40 seconds. Next year, I should only fall short, if I'm going to fall short, by 4 sit-ups and maybe improve my run by 10 seconds in order to receive any incentive. I would not receive the incentive for events that are not successfully completed, but in order to receive any, I need to show improvement or continue to meet the standard. My proposal is $150 per employee per event, or a maximum of $450 per employee for an incentive. If every employee were to successfully complete the testing, it's just under $10,000.
I think this is a good idea. We'd like all our police officers to be fit. I understand why it's voluntary. But even if all 22 employees, $9,900, I think it would be well worth it.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why it's only voluntary? I mean, we're not
Yeah.
we're not penalizing if they attempt and don't pass.
I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think absent the State Highway Patrol, I don't think there's any agencies in the county that require it to be mandatory. I'd struggled with that and thought about it because we show up to somebody's house and it's the worst is that it's going to get. We expect our employees to be able to perform. There's a lot that we ask out of our employees, and it's a difficult thing to ask of an employee considering all the other factors of employment that are currently in front of us. Pay is one of those things. I have a difficult time recruiting people to come to work at Sunset Beach with the current pay structure. I'm going to be brutally honest. And then to add on top of that, that they're going to work rotating shifts, they're going to work weekends, they're going to work holidays, they're going to work here in a hurricane from the beginning of the event till the end of the event. And then, we're going to add on top of that, if you're 5 seconds slow on your run, you could possibly lose your job. So to add that on as a mandatory condition of employment, I don't feel that's something that is going to help us with recruitment and retention.
Just to hit a fine point, it wasn't missing the standard is a condition to be removed from employment. It was my idea of mandatory is that at least showing up and making an attempt, whether you do one push-up or just lie in a prone position and say, I can't go any further.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, it's
Okay, I see what you're
not a
saying.
condition for employment, but
Sure.
it just, the idea, I would think, especially for a police officer, fitness should be kind of part and parcel. Most of those things that you described are common knowledge, part of the job for a police officer,
Sure.
and not out of you know, an
Right.
exception. So,
I believe that.
anyway, I think the incentive is good. Should encourage as best we can everybody to at least make an attempt.
I understand.
So
Do they
Uh,
have to demonstrate that they have certain physical capabilities, or
When they graduate from basic law enforcement training, they have to complete what's called the police officer physical agility test, which is it's not the Cooper standard. It's more of an agility course where they have to roll with a dummy, climb over objects, climb under objects, stair climbing, things of that nature. We don't have the facility or the equipment to do that, but that is the only requirement for a 30-year career in most agencies when you do it one time when you get out of BLET. And outside of that, it's kind of on you to
keep it up?
to keep fit.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any other questions?
one more question.
Yes, sir.
Last year, you were looking for an education incentive. Did that get put in place?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
that was added in again when we went back and reinstated some of the things I'd asked for in 2020.
Is that seem to be working, or are we getting results out of that? Are officers taking advantage of the education incentive?
The education incentive was put into place for officers who currently have either an advanced or a intermediate certificate or a bachelor's degree or above, I believe. So I know there are some officers that are currently enrolled in higher education through different universities. And of course, officers are continuing to take classes through the Justice Academy to work toward their intermediate or advanced certificates.
Good.
Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presentation. Before we go on, we want to take a break at least. We can either take a 10-minute break or we can go ahead and take a lunch break.
Well, Mayor, I was going to suggest that the building inspection department, the planning department, and then Dustin and Matt have very light requests. So if we could go ahead and do those and see where we are, and then possibly
Let's take a
break
5-minute
and then
break
come back.
for Mr. Nern here to
Okay.
address.
Go for 5. Okay. Thank you.
Call this budget meeting back to order. Next up, we'll go with Matt. Well, we'll go with Carrie. Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
Mine's real simple. Obviously, the last 3 years was our vehicles was a replacement. That was my big line items, big ticket items, and so we're good to go on vehicles.
Okay.
And nothing. I don't foresee anything like personnel wise. We're okay. As far as any other big ticket items, we have none at this time. But if you got any questions, I'll be more than glad to try to answer them.
I got any questions?
How many inspectors do you have now?
I have two besides myself. So we've got
Stanley and Eric?
Stanley and Eric.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right,
That's one.
we appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yes, sir.
And Carrie will be bringing you the projections for, what am I trying to say? Revenue that'll
revenue.
be coming in that you've asked for. We'll be going over that during the April 8th meeting as well.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. Lisa, I have been working on it for some time now, trying to gather the information. I think I went back as far as 18 up until current, and then also from this day forward, out 5 to 8, 2026, with the potential projects that'll be permitted, if everything still goes as standing. So I'll have those on the during that next workshop for you.
That'll
to
give
be
us a
able to
good way to
review.
estimate property
Yes.
tax increases over time.
Yes, sir. I think
Yeah.
it's, we got it broke down pretty good, so you can kind of get a good estimate anyway.
Great.
Okay,
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Again.
Any particular one next? Chad, go ahead, sir.
I was kind of in the same fence of Carrie, of not really having anything, except for potentially changing the escape and everything. I met with Tara and Lisa about. It's like, nope, not under your budget. Great. I think there was when we met last month, there was some talk about with the rezoning, with the COG, and continuing to make sure we have money to go toward Wes with helping us out. Wes and I put our heads together and potentially looked at bringing forth to y'all the audit and UDO fix and rewrite of the current document. The audit would be $8,000. The fix and rewrite would be $52,000. I'm proposing, if that's the direction that the board would like to go in, I'm certainly in favor of it. It would give this town a reworked, well-working document that would help us move into the next 10 or so years, in my opinion. And budget $30,000 in this year's budget, and then $30,000 in next year's budget, because you're looking at about a 2.5 year work through that document. So if you have any questions, I can.
Any questions, Mr. Chad?
I don't have a question on that, but I was on the UDO committee when we began our current UDO, and it was a large group of taxpayers, and we really got pushed through that too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We had certain things we were supposed to cover between meetings, and it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, here's $60,000, but we're making changes to the UDO all the time, and these are things that we didn't think of or didn't do as a committee.
Correct.
But to look at the whole budget, I don't have a problem with this unless.
It's not the easiest document I've ever worked with. My buddy, one of my best friends, who is the planning director in Southport, just got through. He's going through the tail end of this. I don't know how long the last UDO, and I think y'all did the land use plan too, didn't you, at the same time? It took for us to get through that working document and get it finally approved. But I asked Thomas, who is the planning director in Southport, how long is it taking you? And from start to finish, about 2.5 years. And wanting to come out of that with a well-working document to where it's trying to use it's decent. It's not the best I've ever worked with. There's some holes. I think we've seen that. And to continue going through the growing pains as far as if we're gonna put in the work of the rezoning, is it time to go ahead and while we're doing that to put in the work to look at amending and retooling this document while we're in there?
What will you audit against? So the UDO will be compared to what?
Wes McLeod will audit the document. He's not here. I know he'll be here in a couple weeks for some presentations and with me, but he audits it. The COG audits the document and finds this is where we need to. I don't know the whole process. I've never really been through it officially. I've gotten to this step a couple times, but as far as actually taking a look at the document, seeing where it really needs fixing, and then the other money is to move forward with the actual working through the document and fixing it and writing it and bringing it forward to planning and commission or council as
Well, I'd
well.
like to know so is it going to be to look at it whether it's not clear,
Okay.
if it's not in compliance with other ordinances,
Okay.
if it's not in agreement with our land use plan, whatever it
Okay.
may be, we need to understand what
Okay.
that will be.
All right.
Anyone else?
This would be council governments doing it, mainly Wes probably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how long does he think this project would take?
I haven't asked him specifically. I'm going off of what I've talked to Southport about, and it's probably about 2.5 years.
It would take him 2.5 years to go through this?
I think it's a good amount of time. I mean, my experience is in other municipalities. The last one I worked in, trying to go through that in a year, was a stretch at best. So make sure we have plenty of time.
That time frame includes it coming through the planning board,
Yes.
coming to the town council, public hearings being held, adoptions being made. It's not just Wes sitting behind a desk for 2.5 years,
Right.
looking at a document. And he's also looking for discrepancies or inconsistencies within the document itself. To where in one section it may say you can do this, but in another section it says you can't.
Anybody
Okay.
else?
And then my last thing, I've asked Wes and Chad to also look at the land use plan. It was adopted in 2017. It started a long time before that and then finally got to adoption. That document needs to be updated as well. And then that document needs to mirror the UDO.
Personally, I think the land use plan is a decent document. It just might need to be re-looked at to where we're 10 to 15 years out. There's actually a schedule inside the land use plan that actually states we should be looking at that as a audit and a rework as well. But I do think that's a really good working document that we have. It needs to also go along with a good working document such as the UDO.
Yeah, basically the schedule, the land use plan schedule, that when things were supposed to happen or in the future, that's what needs to be elaborated on to go out.
So which happens first? Change the plan, land use plan, and then make sure the UDO is in compliance with it, or do it kind of concurrently?
I would think that you would need to do the land use plan first, because that would drive the restrictions and the regulations that you would want to write in the UDO.
That's,
But that's a West question.
yeah, that is a West question.
And they may be able to do it simultaneously. I don't know. But it's definitely both of those documents need to be looked at.
I don't foresee the land use plan having to be reworked as much as the UDO.
Nor would it require as much time.
Right.
But it would get a lot of that's where a lot of public input comes in, is
Yeah.
with the land use plan. And that's where you would hear the loudest of what the citizenry is wanting to see in the next 10 or 20 years or so.
The land use plan calls for much participation from the public.
Absolutely.
The land use plan is wanting to know what the public wants, what the citizens want for this town.
Your mic.
Oh. Sorry,
Okay, go ahead again, Jen.
say it again?
You can,
Is it hard
so they can hear you. Nobody can hear you.
to hear me?
No. Is yours on?
They heard me.
There you go. No.
Okay. The land use plan is something that encourages heavily the participation of the citizens. The land use plan takes into consideration what the citizens come before the town and say, this is what we want our town to look like. This is what we want our town to do. This is what we want. It's everybody's town. And the land use plan is the document for that.
Yeah.
And then that's what would drive the regulations in the UDO. But we will definitely ask Wes what's on first, who comes first,
Yep.
and then get back with you on that. But there will be additional money that Chad will have to put into this budget for land use plan.
Yeah.
If we go that route. And then Chad, are you going to cover the ERC? And the ERC has been questioning Tara and I both about budget and where they fit in and those types of things. The two rain gardens, the one rain garden that you've already given them the go ahead with the budget with funding to do, in addition to the rain garden that we're able to create in the parking lot, both of those rain gardens will be rolled into that parking lot construction plan. We don't foresee you all approving paying the ERC, such as the planning board is. You do need to think about the Board of Adjustment now that they will be more active than they have been. But we don't foresee the ERC needing a budget per se. They would come with a funding request. When and if they come up with anything to do. Does that make sense?
Project based.
Yeah, project based. So, and if you did want to put a line item in for them for anything, then it would be in the town council section of the budget, where the Board of Adjustment, the planning board, and you all are housed. So, but just wanted to make you all aware that
Yeah.
the ERC committee was asking how they fit in with a budget. And they really don't have one, and we don't foresee that they need one.
Anything else?
Unless you all think differently.
Does the North Carolina Resiliency Project have anything to do with our budget process?
Potentially,
Yes.
Chad and I need to talk about that. We've got word this morning.
Yes, we have been approved and awarded the grant for the North Carolina Resiliency Program. I'll have to go back and look.
I think it was 30,000.
30,000, yeah.
Right, but I don't know that was our money. I mean, I don't know if it was a match. I don't remember if it was a match or if it was just a straight 30,000.
30,000 to do the study, to do the work, to figure out what needs to happen, and
I
then
don't
we pick up the tab probably for whatever.
I think there's two
Decisions.
phases or three phases. So in phase 2, I have no idea what that cost would look like.
Yep.
And that's where I need to sit down with staff and bring
Right,
that
and
back
now
to
that
you.
we've been awarded the grant, the ERC committee will need to bring that to the forefront for making sure that we're on board with whatever's got to happen with that piece.
And just to let you know, we've been awarded to work with Moffett and Nickel to move forward, and I'll have more details with that coming forward soon.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on next, Dustin or Matt, which one do you want?
Let's do Matt first because
ahead, Matt.
Dustin has more than just Public Works.
Okay.
Whoa. Broke the microphone. We're good. Can everyone hear me? Yep. All right. New to this process, but in front of you I have a spreadsheet. You guys should have a spreadsheet of the capital improvement plan of what I have proposed this year. The total was $416,400, and I mean, just right off the bat, the top two up there are right at $400,000. So it's just two projects mainly on the island. Both are in very bad condition, very little drainage, need to be repaired. It'll be after this tourist season if approved. We have one already being engineered towards East Main from 4th Street to 6th Street. And then the other one will be on 27th, 29th Street. And we already had some bids go out for that. Not much engineering will have to be done with it. So that is already in the works. And then the next big thing we have is we're asking for a town stormwater maintenance worker. We have one that is retiring, coming back part-time in May. We're going to be filling his position as an equipment operator. And then we're asking for this additional worker on top of that to help with our maintenance of all of our infrastructure around town. Also, too, I put in some pictures in there behind the maintenance worker of just what we've done in the past year, really, of these drainage seasons, especially in Seaside Station. And then the last one that we have, if you flip through and everything, you can see before and after. It's drainage easement 12, which is proposed on our budget this year. It's $25,000. And since then, we have actually gone in and broke down some of those dams, so it had a little bit of flow, but it's still a lot of maintenance, a lot of work to be done that will need to be contracted out. Any
Anyone have any
questions?
First question.
Yes, sir.
The two main projects that you have on the island
Yes, sir.
and those dollar amounts, didn't we budget those for last year, for this current year?
No, sir. I don't believe so.
I don't have what the schedule was for last year's budget in front of me, but that's something that we can bring back to you because I don't have last year's stormwater plan in front of me.
I think both of those projects were valued last year. The C-106 on East Main, I think, was also at $180,000.
Right.
And the C-104 was originally $72,000. Is up to one.
But you're saying that they were budgeted to be done.
Well,
last
they
year?
were in last year's budget request in the discussion.
Oh, in the request.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the question was, did we spend any of that money?
We did a project, part of Catchment 5 right there with 27th, 29th, but it was from 29th to 30th Street this year on North Shore. So I believe that's where the 72,000 came from. But as far as the East Main, 4th to 6th, we have not touched that with that 180 proposed.
Okay. Yeah, the last year proposal was 72 for 29th to 30th and 178 for East Main 4th through 6th.
Right.
I mean, just to be in there, so. So all that money go back to the budget? No, okay.
There's not that much left in stormwater this year.
Okay. We had other projects come up.
Right.
I know that went through there.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
when do you project these, the C-106 and C-104 projects being done?
It'll be after, with the approval of this, I mean, everything comes back in July and it's middle of our tourist season. So it'll be most likely October, November when that starts starting up. Yes, sir.
The delay on the 27th through 29th Street, the C-104, has been obtaining easements between all of those properties on those 3 roads. Just last week, we did finally obtain the correct property owner because of a deceased property owner. So it was going through the estate. And so we will be preparing deeds of easements to get to these people for them to sign and send back to us for recording. And then afterwards, we would be able to start this project. It's probably not going to be until the fall.
Well, we wouldn't want to do that during the tourist season anyway,
Correct.
if we could
We
avoid it.
couldn't.
Yeah.
There'd be no way. If there's no more questions, I have one more thing to
One more
add.
question, then?
Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr.
So do we have a continued maintenance program? When you look at these pictures, much of this looks like it's been
Neglected
much, right, many years overgrown.
for many, many years. Yes,
So-
sir.
so
So
do
I
we
have
have a
on
way-
my computer, I've started making a schedule of when the contract work is done initially, and then it becomes in-house maintenance. So we've already gone back from last year when they've already, the contractors have already gone through easements. Myself and Jerry, other coworker, have gone through already and mowed everything down again, opened up
Good.
all the flow. So we have a schedule already in place
Great.
for each
Okay.
one that's done.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And if you'll remember in December, as Mr. Michaud was departing from us, he advised you all at that point that you really need 2 designated maintenance workers that do nothing but clear those easements. So that's where we are headed with this additional personnel, is that a lot of their main focus will be getting those easements to par and then maintaining them there.
So one of them is we have a vacant equipment operator position now, is that correct?
Coming up.
We have 1 vacant because Matt moved into the department head role.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so we have 1 vacant that you're advertising for? Are we
Mhm.
advertising? And then the request is to hire another maintenance worker, create
Correct.
another position for another maintenance
Correct.
worker?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Another position or replacing Todd?
Adding one.
It's
Adding another
It's an
position.
additional position, and then we will have the permanent part-time position. So that should sufficiently staff the stormwater department for them to be able to get these projects done and to maintain all of the easements and the right-of-way.
Yes.
And in these easements, are there any signs that people are using this as a dump for yard waste?
We have seen that, especially going through after the ones that have been cleared. Piles of leaves, just sticks that have blown down over, storms, throwing them in there. Hey, it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not our problem anymore. Because there's a couple of easements that have vacant lots right beside them, and then there's a home. So, those folks or other folks, I'm not going to, specify who, but they throw things in there. And, it obstructs the flow. And then obviously, mosquitoes are right around the corner, so that doesn't help at all either.
And with us putting bodies into those easements on a routine basis, if that is or has happened in the past, they will be seeing people where they've never seen people before, and will hopefully deter people from doing that.
I mean, it might be easy. You have to be pretty lazy, especially with our leaf and limb pickup program here.
Yes.
True.
But the one other thing I was going to mention, if I can, is a couple meetings ago, council member had proposed the ponds beautification and fountains and things like that. So I've actually gotten in touch with Solid Lake Management, who maintains our ponds already. And I've gotten a price on clearing a couple of ponds out, putting fountains in a few ponds, and actually stocking them with minnows to help with the mosquito larvae. So once I get more information from them and talk with an electrician as far as the cost of that, I'll bring that up to council at our next meeting, hopefully. And see
And
what
the fountains are not decorative fountains. These are functional to keep it clean
Yes, sir.
and,
Yes, there will
These
be.
are to make the water move
Yes.
so that the mosquitoes won't hatch. And then the minnows would be there to eat anything that did hatch.
Correct.
So it's a brainstorming idea of how to
It's gonna be
control some of the mosquito population.
Right. It'll be a process, but I'll try to get some of those numbers to you at next meeting.
Great. That'd be great, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right.
Nothing
Thank you.
else? Thank you, Matt. All right, moving on to Dustin.
In front of you, I'm proposing to a rotor motor attachment that goes to the multi-hog machine that we already have, already purchased. That's what the machine that they use to sweep the sidewalk with, to clean it off with. This is just an attachment that will fit onto that front of that machine that would help us mow the right-of-ways a little bit faster, where right now I'm using 2 lawnmowers, a 46 and a 72-inch decks to go out and do it. This right here will make one swipe will cover what them 2 machines can do. And plus, it's inside the cab. It's out of the dust. It's out of the environment with them. It helps the employee or the staff member inside of them. It'll be a little bit more safer environment for them to travel, to use. Next,
question just on that.
Yeah.
Was it, that's the only piece of equipment you're looking at, right?
yes.
Okay. You had a couple of pieces last year? Well, there was an excavator. Was that
Yeah.
stormwater or you?
It was split between me and Stormwater, but we
Did-
have.
Did we get it?
Yes. Y'all did approve it. It is in production wise. It should be delivered next month, what I was told.
Again, once again, especially, you've got a lot of equipment. That'd be stuff that I think equipment should be on the life cycle timeline
Okay.
roster so that we can kind of keep track of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, I'm gonna come to y'all for a request for two more additional members, 2 more staff members for y'all, for me. To try to help with the workload that I've got going on, with the additional for myself, Cindy Stephen as my assistant, and the 3 maintenance workers that I have now. So that was, right now I have 5 all total, counting myself,
Authorized.
authorized.
Okay. How many do you actually have?
I have Cindy, and I have 1 in the field right now. I got 2 openings.
I'm sorry.
I have myself
Cindy?
and Cindy, and I have Austin, and that's all I have right now. I have 2 openings right now.
So you have 2 openings there.
Yes,
Okay.
as of right now.
Are we waiting for the budget for this? Or are we trying to?
And we're actively trying to hire 2 more
We're
right
actually-
now.
I'm in the process of
We
right
just
now.
lost
Right.
2.
I just
Yeah.
lost 2, so I'm in the process now of trying to hire 2 more.
So in
To replace
addition,
them
you're
too.
looking for 2 more
Yes.
workers?
For an additional 2 more workers. Yes. To help.
Well,
And the
you-
logic with
you
that
just
is that would
lost 2.
give,
Yeah, I lost
No,
2.
this is on top.
Oh, on top?
On top of this, so altogether, make all 7 altogether, if y'all approve the 2.
Right now, it's just him and 1 person out there. That's all we have out representing our town, doing all the work. Go ahead, Dustin.
that would give him the ability to have 2 different crews of 2 to go
Yeah.
in 2 different areas, to where right now the whole department works on whatever. He would be
Yeah.
able to
I'll be
to
able to split up.
utilize his staff.
Yeah, so
better.
during the summer months, there's 2 that's dedicated to the beach every day, 7 days a week, picking trash up. It ranges from 2, maybe 3 to 4 hours. It just depends on what we collect out there. Then we got the park, we got the boat ramp, bird watch, all that has to be picked up every day. So I got 2 that's dedicated just for that. Then I got all the mowing, all the signs, all the other stuff that has to take place, all the bathroom repairs, anything like that has to happen. I have to take care of all that also. Just with what I've had.
This is a question for Tara. Does the accommodation tax cover part of that summer workload out there on the beach?
No, we don't have any of the only salaries that come out of accommodation tax right now is beach patrol. Because, I mean, it would be to try to figure out exactly what the salaries are. for that, he would have to have like a detailed notebook of how many hours they actually spent on that specifically.
Well, we'd have to hire somebody else to keep track of all that then. No, I'm not saying do that. I'm saying definitely not. But the other side of it is, even if a combination tax does not pay for it, what we do not use in combination tax goes back into our general fund. You know,
Well, so the reason that, I mean, our legislation, our House Act for accommodation tax allows us to transfer into general fund because we can use it for things like picking up the trash on the beach, for the additional fire personnel, for the additional police personnel. So that's why we are allowed and do transfer into the general fund. And those are the reasons that we're allowed to do that. So essentially, it is used for, like, accommodation tax is used for that. It's just not a direct payment from that fund.
Not directly. Okay, good. Thank you.
Any more questions on the personnel?
No, go ahead, sir.
All right, the next one is the purchase of a new bathroom facility, and that would help out with the one at Main Street now. It'll give us a second one for Main Street, because we already, last time y'all bought one for the gazebo. So we could put them on a rotation schedule, so they're not sitting out there in the environment constantly during the whole season. We can rotate them in and out to help with the wear and tear. Right now, we have gone through the one at Main Street and upgraded everything that's in there. It really looks good with what we've done, but by purchasing a new one, it will help us prolong the life of what we just put in this one and keep us on the rotation schedule. So we're not coming within the next 5 or 6 years and say, all right, we need a new one to replace the one at Main Street. We can sort of spread out the lifespan of them. Even though this here was purchased back in 2011, it's almost 10 years old now.
And we have, last year we authorized upgrading both of the existing restrooms, right? And only one has been upgraded so far?
So far.
And the other one's in progress? I've gotten numerous public comments that they really like the new bathroom and the upgrade that got done up there on Main Street, but that's...
So with that is, it'll help us prolong the life of them by switching them around, rotating them in and out. And so
Potentially have us 2 on each one, right?
Right. And plus with that is when I take one out for maintenance, I can put one back in the place of that one. So it's not an empty hole sitting there, and there's always a restroom be sitting there at all times.
Don't we have 3 right now? I thought we kept.
We kept the one at the gazebo. I kept that one.
Right.
Then we have the new one that's at the gazebo that we purchased a year ago. Now I have the one at Main Street that we were upgrading also. I'll upgrade them, the old new ones, but right now I'm upgrading the one at Main Street right now.
So we've got 2 in service, 1 in standby as a replacement.
Well, when I put the other one back at Main Street, yeah, it'd be back in service.
So we've got a total of
3,
2 that
yes.
we keep in service all the time.
And
1's in standby. So
in
this would
regards
be
to
an
what he's
addition?
saying.
Yeah, because what it is that where the bathrooms are situated is the tongues of them is opposite. The doors are on the opposite side, so I can't take the one from Main Street and put it at the gazebo, and I can't take the one from the gazebo and put it at Main Street.
They're not
Oh.
interchangeable.
They're not
Right.
interchangeable.
Oh.
And plus the sewer connections, the water, yeah, it's totally opposite.
Okay.
It's almost like a left-handed and a right-handed. We got 2 rights, but
I
only
didn't
1
realize
left.
it. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't either. He just brought that up to me when we discussed this, so.
Yes. So that would help us. It just help us with the lifespan of them. Anything else on the bathroom? The walkways, we're in the process now of getting an engineer to come down and evaluate our walkways to give us a maintenance schedule for all of them. I have not seen that yet from this or met with them to get this going, but we have initiated this. But right now we have 3 on the books that we're looking at doing. When April comes around, I'll come back to April 8th. I'll bring them back to y'all for y'all to approve for the upcoming budget. And all the work won't start until the fall. It'll be after the season before any other work starts.
But it'll be immediately.
So,
Yes.
so did the ADA one get approved?
We did not get a bid for the ADA, not for
Did
40th
not get a
Street.
what?
We put it out for bid,
Yeah,
40th Street, but we did not get no bidders.
okay, but we did get the easements.
We got for 40th Street. We already had easement for 40th Street.
The ADA on,
Not yet.
okay,
Not on that one yet.
you know. Informally, both property owners are willing to do that.
They're willing, but I had to take a plan to them,
Okay,
an engineer plan to show them what it would look like before they send anything over to us. They said to me,
Which one is that?
we're looking at 1414.
to 1502.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I discussed with you that needs some safety repairs
Okay.
now.
Okay.
That's-
We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Just a question not relating to this. You had been doing experiments on the roadways there on the island where we had concerns about the fines that have been washing into the canals and such. So you did something on 10th Street,
Yeah, we done 10th Street with the 57 slate,
and you
Right.
did it on 12th Street as
12th
well.
Street. Yes,
What did you use there?
57 slate.
On 12th Street?
Yes, same material.
On 12th
Sure.
Street?
No, it doesn't look.
No,
it's
that's not the same.
If it's
Maybe
the
it's-
same material, they forgot the top layer.
It might be on 12. It might have been 57 slate on
No,
both of them.
not.
Yeah.
No, and it's
Uh,
not working as well as the slate.
Okay. Well, I'll check into
It,
that.
it looks like they left off the top layer of slate.
Okay.
There's not a layer of slate on top.
All right, I'll check.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. But that's what it's going to be.
So the question is, do you plan, for the sake of the budget,
Mhm.
do we plan to do any more of that work and include some of the other roadways? Because there's still a lot of stuff that's washing into the canals and the finger.
Well,
11, 9, 8, and 7.
we can look at doing the short streets.
Yeah.
Now the long streets are a little bit different.
No, we're talking the short streets.
Yeah, we can look at doing some more short streets with that.
So is that going to be in the budget as well?
We can add that in there.
Yeah, I think we should plan for that. I mean, it
Okay.
seems to be working on 10th Street pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at that.
Thank you.
There you go.
And the sweeper still works, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Matter of fact, it'll be out this week.
good.
Carry on.
That is all I have.
Actually,
you got one more thing.
Concrete monuments, we still have that one. We hadn't approved.
Sorry.
This is for the concrete monuments that says beach accesses. That's layered all down to the beach. There's 33 of them. They look at the company that will come down and form them. But basically next to the fire department where they'll form them at. Then after they cure out for about 2 weeks, then we'll transport them over to the island and set them up, take the old ones out and set these places and set these one in. Altogether, with the lettering and everything on them, $31,000 for everything. For them to come out and form them, letter them for us, and all we have to do is pick them up, transport them over, and set them back in the
That's
replace
for
them.
how many?
33.
So they don't install them as it says in here. It says install the monuments too. Is included.
Well,
in
but
that
they'll
31,000.
be with us
Okay.
with it doing it, but
Yes.
they'll be with us.
And the lettering, right now, when you go out there, Dustin uses a stencil to spell out whatever it
access.
says.
Beach access.
Beach access. These letters will actually be molded into
Yeah,
the
those-
concrete
Yes.
monument. So it'll look better than the stenciled writing.
Yeah, you can't even see the ones that's
Yeah.
out there now. It's
Yeah.
completely pretty much wore out. So.
Yeah.
Well, okay, two things. One, I think you might double check the count on 33 because we also have those monuments on the north side of Main Street,
Oh, yes.
across from north side
I
of
know what
Main
you're talking
Street,
about.
and we have them on
Canal.
from 6th to 18th, roughly to the end on Canal. So there's probably another 15 or so, you know.
There's about 10 more. Yeah, there's to be about 40.
Yeah,
44.
there's
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, there's more. I know what you're talking
Okay, so that need to be included in that.
about. Okay.
And this would happen, we do the bid, it would happen after the season?
Yes, it would have to happen to the season.
Okay,
After
so
the season.
so Sunset Vision is still in preparation to do if you power wash, to do a whitewash and to re-stencil it, to get us through this season.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's slated for the 1st of May,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, right?
Good.
For you all to do that work?
Well, once the power washing's done, we'll organize
Right.
a labor force.
Okay.
What about
Thank you.
disposal of the old ones once the new ones come in?
They would be just taken to the landfill because it's got rebar in them. It'd be hard to break them up. There's rebar inside them.
Who does that?
We would have to haul them to the landfill. That'd be on us.
Is there any way to use that for?
Or the company may take them.
Yeah, they
I mean,
may.
it's a concrete company that does this, so they may have the ability to remove the metal from the concrete and reuse it
Yeah, they might
for their
have a-
own.
They might have a concrete crusher. Yeah, like you said, maybe come in and crush
That's
them
a
up.
question that could
We're
be
not going to
asked
leave
as
them
well.
laying around behind
No.
the fire department.
No. No. There are certain areas that I could use them at the end of roads to replace the ones I have, maybe some new ones, change them out. So right now there is some ones that's they're wood at the end of them, at some of the roads, like on the island, some of the dead end roads. So there's some places that we might be able to use them and just paint them yellow, so to indicate that you're at the end of the road.
Okay.
So there might be some places for it we can use the best ones.
Which are few. Which are few.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else got any questions for Dustin?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Dustin.
Go ahead and do the fire. Might as well. You ain't gonna take over 40
Oh,
minutes,
geez, I
right?
thought we were done.
Come on up, let's get on with the program.
All right, Paul.
All right, ready? I'll be quick. You got any questions? The first
When's your
one,
replacement coming?
my replacement or the fire truck?
Think about it.
The first thing here, hydraulic tools. We've talked about this a little bit in years past. I've tried to write a couple grants. The current hydraulic tools we have need replaced sooner than later. So that's why it's in the budget. I've been unsuccessful with getting a grant, so it's in there. I've done a lot of heavy rescue, a lot of stuff with extrication over the years, and they are beyond their useful life, and we have to replace them so we can function. That's the bottom line. I've tried to get grant funding, haven't, so that's why that's in there. Second thing, anybody questions on the hydraulic tools?
So does this replace more than one tool? It looks like you got different attachments for this.
Yeah,
unit.
so there will be several different combinations within that $70,000. There'll be a gas powered pump, hoses with a cutter tool, a spreader tool, and a ram extension tool, and hoses. And then there'll also be battery powered hydraulic tools of each of those for two different apparatus.
So it sounds like it's doing a lot more than the one that you replaced it.
It will do a lot more than the ones we're replacing, but the same functions. Like the ones we currently have right now have severe limitations with technology, strength, power. These ones are gonna be current day technology, strength, power, usability.
Okay. Got it.
The next thing in there is the continuation of the radio replacement plan. It's a little bit less money than we did last year, but we have to continue on the plan to replace radios before some of our current ones become obsolete in the coming years of the North Carolina Viper system. So a little bit less money this year, but keeping us on track for that radio replacement.
And these are the same type of radios?
Yeah.
That we're,
Yep, the ones we've been buying.
yeah.
And the next thing is staff vehicle replacing a 2011, 2012 Tahoe that's on the replacement plan a couple pages back. It's currently already experiencing some mechanical issues. The transmission's day to day. It's spent a lot of time on the beach. There's cracks in the door and rust, and
cosmetically going to start failing. So that's on the plan to replace in this next budget year. No questions on that. The next item is the UTVs for the beach patrol. We've set up that replacement plan to keep them getting replaced every 3 years, buy 2 of them at a time. So by the time we would purchase or order these, get them in, the ones we bought first in this cycle when we switched to the John Deeres, they'll have been on the beach 3 years. So just keeping on that replacement plan with the UTVs, and that price is fully outfitted, lights, siren, equipment, and so forth. So a lot of the lighting installation stuff we'll do in house and take care of, save a little bit of money, but pretty much what we've been doing and keeping it going so we don't have major issues with repair and maintenance.
You seem to be having better luck out of using these John Deere as you did those other brands before.
Yes, sir.
And is the value on these used ones, John Deere, are they keeping their value like most John Deere stuff does? Is it still?
Well, we haven't
pretty much
had
informed?
John Deere come in and say how much they'd be worth after the 3 years, but we're assuming we'll be able to, after 3 years, they won't be junk. We'll be able to put them in the town auction or maybe try to trade them in somehow, and have a little more value than the other models that we've used in the past.
So when these are like in the evenings, are these stored outside or inside?
Inside.
Okay. And you're getting looks like 1,600 hours out of them, roughly, maybe a little more.
Yeah, last year was a little bit of variable because the beach was shut down for a couple 2 months there. But yeah, that's probably a good estimation.
Yeah, I think getting 3 years out of something on the beach every day is pretty good.
Yeah, this year will really tell the test on the 3rd year to see if we start having any major issues with them. But so far, we think, knock on wood, 3 years is going to be a good cycle, and as long as we stay on that cycle, we'll be good.
We have a total of 4 of them
Correct.
with a replacement cost of $8,500.
Yeah, give or take on that. This year, the estimate we already got went up about $700 from a previous year. So we're playing those numbers games with supply and demand in today's current world. But yeah, right around there. And the last thing on there is a new topic of discussion for the beach patrol. I talked with Deputy Chief Adams quite a bit, and we've looked at several different drones. One of the things he would like to do is have a drone out on the beach, one with the capabilities to drop a life jacket if need be, or carry and drop a bottle of water, because we have both those scenarios. If somebody gets sucked out in the rip current and he's at the other end of the beach, he might be able to fly the drone quicker and drop a life jacket to somebody before he can get there. We also, as you know, have multiple people every year, all times of year really, get stuck in Tubbs Inlet, the canals, everything around the island. So being able to, and some of our most recent issues have simply not been able to get to the people. So having the drone capabilities to put a camera on them and drop a bottle of water if it's hot out there, if somebody gets stuck. So there's a new idea he proposed to me. We talked about it a little bit. He's doing more and more research, but the price estimate on there includes everything: drone, some training, FAA type regulations we have to abide by. So we think it'll be a good resource to try, and if you support it, we'll try it. If not, we won't do it.
Do any other beaches around use it?
Locally, there's a bunch of drones around, but as far as having a program in place to be able to drop a life jacket, drop a bottle of water, I don't know. Florida, I think, has some. But I can get you, nobody locally is doing what we're proposing to try to do.
Yeah, I think North Myrtle Beach may have a drone, but it doesn't have any ancillary capabilities.
I know
So-
Ocean Isle has a drone, but it doesn't have the capabilities that we're trying to propose or ultimately try to do.
Sort of operationally, one thing would be what kind of operational costs to go through the course of the year, sort of batteries, maintenance, any warranties, any insurance separate from our town policy that we would anticipate. But more importantly, sort of where would it be based, where would it be staged, who would be the ones to be operating it? You know, what are your ideas about, you know, if we got it, we want to take a life jacket out, does it go from the fire department or does it go from a vehicle on the beach?
Some of those questions that you just asked are actually kind of in the weeds for me at this point too. Yeah. Having a big picture idea of starting the concept and okay, here's what we want to do. Can we do it? I think Deputy Chief Adams, one, will have sole control of it to start. We're not going to, everybody's not going to drive it. Everybody's not going to have security on it. The insurance.
You need a license for it.
What's that?
You need a license for it.
Correct. So everybody on the fire department beach patrol is not going to have access to it. You know, insurance wise, it probably depends on where it comes in price wise, whether we add it to the town policy or not. But we will have, you know, before it goes into operations, we'll have a plan and things in place.
Don't we have one that the police department uses some? Isn't that right? With Blaine, I think, is the operator for that. You got 2 operators now?
And do they have to be FAA certified since they are government employees or?
They are.
Okay.
Anybody got any more questions?
Nope. Good idea.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so going forward, Tara, correct me if I'm wrong. What we will do now with all of this capital that you've just heard about is we will add this to the expenditure budget as if you have awarded it. And then when you see the revenue projections, then you'll be able to start making your cuts. Does that make sense?
And that's our April 8th discussion?
The next meeting, yeah.
Yes.
But I'm gonna try to have the whole packet to you prior to that, so you'll be able to review it.
Correct.
So the revenue projections will tell us to maintain the
What
same
you,
tax
what we
rate.
have, or what we're projected to have as far as revenue. The only other thing I want to mention is that I handed out an addition to everything, and it was the nonprofits. So that's what is attached to the summary page at the front is what every nonprofit is proposing or asking for and what they'll be using it for. I do know that some of the nonprofits are wanting to come and speak to council before the final decision is made on whose requests are granted and how much. Which meeting would you all like to have that at? Would you like them to come to the April 8th meeting?
The following meeting on the Tuesday morning.
Let's see.
Well, the April 8th meeting is the one that
That's where we're whittling everything
you're
sort of
looking for
down.
us to break everything down fairly.
But then we have another
Like-
one on the 20th before you actually get the final draft. So
I mean, but
I mean,
my,
they
my
could
question my question is, you're looking for us on April 8th to basically give you guidance
Right.
as to what to cut, what to add in, what to work with, what we.
So the other option is that they could actually come and speak on the 5th at the night council meeting as well. Because they're not going to be part of the budget discussion. They're just going to present to you and answer any questions that you have. It doesn't necessarily have to be part of the whole budget meeting. but we want to have time to invite them to come.
And we know what we gave them last time as well?
Yes.
I mean, we have specific how much was, I can give that information to you. I can email it to you. It's actually on their applications probably. 'Cause we asked what their previous years.
I thought I had seen it somewhere.
Yeah, not exactly.
And we also hope to bring back your wish list that you gave us. We hope to bring that back to you with some rough figures for moving forward with those.
Do we have anything else?
Oh. At this point, the May 3rd meeting, looks, or April 5th meeting.
April 5th is just a regular town council
Yeah,
meeting,
the
so they
April
could come
5th
and be speakers is
The
all.
April 5th meeting, though, looks pretty light at this point. So it would be a good time to invite them to come.
Yeah.
Do we want to give them a time limit? 4 minutes, 5 minutes,
I would.
rather than
5 max, yeah. What you got, 6? 6 or 7 different ones?
6,
6. That's 30 minutes if you give them, yeah, just
Yeah.
do 5 minutes.
5 minute max.
That way, if they know ahead of time, they should come prepared to get their information out.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything else?
And
Go ahead.
I
So we
only
add
have-
that to the agenda for the disposition.
Right. I don't remember which one of you requested open space, preservation of open space. But as the department heads went back and we were trying to talk about and assign all of the projects that we're looking at, we weren't really sure of what that meant or what you were asking us to look at. Oh, okay.
Microphone?
Mic up, Jim.
Your mic.
Mic on where we can hear you.
We're getting so crowded, that we may want to take a look at buying property that may keep our communities from being so crowded. And they like pocket parks, open space, green space, and certainly not one here, but for the future.
Okay.
So purchasing property.
Right.
Anything
Okay.
else?
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yep.
Do I have a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.